tips to help you make more money selling travel. This is the Art of Selling Travel Podcast. And here to guide you through it all, your host, Glenda Beagle.
Well, welcome back. I'm so excited to have you join us. This is another episode of the Art of Selling Travel Podcast, and I am excited. This episode actually comes from conversations that I've been having inside of my coaching groups, in the paid programs and other such. And it's also something that I realize that I know I've been guilty of from time to time. And my question is this something you might be guilty of? Now, before you immediately say, no, this isn't me, I want you to really and truly take some time and think about it. So we've talked about the term pipelines. You know, we hear people talk about it all the time. Really, what it is just a fancy term for the pipe, if you will, that your clients move through. So it's from the moment that they first show that first curiosity, a bit of awareness that you even exist, right through until they're completely book traveled and even referred and we're repeating so that they come back through again. But the one I really want to talk about is when you kind of get that really warm lead, like almost downright hot, where they say, you know, I'd really like to book this. And you get all excited, but at the same time, they're the only one in the pipeline. I've seen it so many times. We're not even just advisors, like travel advisors, but salespeople as a whole. They have one person in the pipeline, or maybe they have two or three, and they think, and it's not a conscious thought, but it happens where they start to go, okay, I've got somebody there. And there's like this security blanket of knowing you have a booking coming. Knowing that you've got this file that's going to come through, which means you're going to get commission, and hopefully you're somebody who charges fees, and that you're going to get this revenue, and then you're going to sell them insurance, and you're going to make some money. Whoop, whoop. Let's do a little party dance here. But here's the problem. If you book them right away, there's nobody behind them. So a lot of times, without even consciously thinking about it, I see travel advisors and salespeople kind of slow the process down. They start going, I've got to look this up. I've got to do this. And we get trapped in that world of being, quote unquote, busy. Because once they're done, I don't have anything else. But there's psychologically something that triggers in our brain when we can say, but I have this file coming up. I'm going to be quoting this. I'm working on this. I'm doing this. Because once they're booked, they move to a different part of the process. And like I said, when there's nobody coming in behind them. And this is so common. And then I hear from advisors who say, well, I was working on this and then they just ghosted me. I was working on this, but then they changed their mind. I was working on this, but they booked with somebody else. What if it's because they were sitting in the pipeline too long? What if somebody else got their attention? What if they gave up? Maybe they thought you gave up on them. Now, I said I can be as guilty of this as anybody else. This might even just simply be an idea. I have like an ideas pipeline where I'm like, I want to do this. But if I do it now, I don't have that golden treasure to hang on to later. If I implement this now, what's going to be my safety net later? If I try this marketing campaign, well, then I need to come up with another one later on. What am I going to do? How am I going to backfill that? And so sometimes we get ourselves trapped in these loops where we don't want to do something because then it leaves this giant gap behind it. So we think until we know how to fill that gap behind it, we can't do anything in front of it. But what if that was the main reason why you weren't able to get somebody coming up behind? What if that's the whole reason why your pipeline's not filling? Because you're not having to feel that hunger to get out there and pull somebody else in. What if you're not able to say, hey, I just booked an amazing vacation for a family. I'd love to book yours next. Instead, it's a lot of, I'm working on this, I'm working on this, I'm working on this. And then worse yet, we start to convince ourselves that we are so busy, but we're not productive. It is completely possible to sit at your desk for 40 plus hours a week and do not a damn thing. It is completely possible to endlessly learn, endlessly study, endlessly accumulate knowledge and never sell anything. If you're somebody who is sitting waiting for the possibility of something to come up, waiting for somebody else to fill in behind, I'm going to tell you, you're going to be waiting a very long time. In fact, the only way to make motion happen is to get motion started. If you're somebody who, if I was to say to you, who do you have in the wings of your pipeline right now? Well, so-and-so said that they were going to, and Johnny said this, and Sally said that, and I know that Cindy's family is going to do this, and I know that Allison's family is going to do that, and Raymond's family is going to do this. Okay, great. They're going to do that. Who's doing something? Well, really, it's on me. I need to get back to them. But yet it sounded so good to say that we have 4, 5, 6 people in the pipelines. But let's start pulling them through the process. Let's start getting things on the books. Because there is this thing in the world. It's in a world of energies and things like that. And so until we start pulling people through, we're not making room for anybody else behind. And then if you do suddenly kind of like pop the cork and things start moving and everything else, what happens? We get overwhelmed because now there's too much going on. Now I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do a proper consultation. I don't have time. I don't have this. I don't have that. And oh my goodness, oh, this is just too much and I can't do it. It's not about motivation. It's about momentum. How do you get momentum started? You got to get things in motion. You can't motivate somebody to do things. You just simply have to get the momentum rolling. I, for years, have tried to motivate myself to become somebody who loves to work out. I've accepted that's not going to happen. So over these next couple of weeks, my focus is going to be, okay, let's get some momentum going. I've got momentum going on getting proper sleep. And for the first time in, I am sure, my entire adult life, I actually feel rested. It wasn't because I wasn't motivated to feel rested before. It was because I needed momentum. I needed to know how to do it the first time so that I could do it the second time. And more importantly, it's not even just knowing how, but it's actually implementing that. The same's true for your pipeline. We get that first client, or maybe it's been a bit of a season of quiet and now we're coming back in. Living in Alberta, there was a lot of times we would have a couple of months here and a couple of months there where things were quieter. There was a bit of a pause between when the summer vacation trips were being planned and then the winter vacation trips were being planned. And it was kind of hard, you kind of lose a little bit of that momentum. It's really easy to keep momentum going when everything is flying at 90 miles an hour. But when that train starts to slow down, it can take a little bit to get it picked back up to speed again. I want you to take a look at everything in your pipeline, whether we're talking about your marketing pipeline, whether we're talking about your sales pipeline, whatever it is. If you're holding yourself back, because I don't even want to say you don't want to do something, because I don't think it is a conscious decision that we make. It's a very subconscious decision. But if you can see something that's just been sitting there, an idea that you've been thinking of, but haven't actually executed on, a client that showed a curiosity, but you haven't pulled into the fold, whatever it is, I want you to start the first step of momentum and reach out and do that one thing. That's all you have to do. If it's a client that showed a curiosity, set up the consultation. If it's a marketing thing that you've been thinking of, what do you need to do to get that going? If you think, oh, but if I do this, I don't have anything right after, and everybody says it's all about consistency, great. Then get the second thing built. And just know it's not about being perfect. It is about being done. Because the thing is if nobody knows you exist, they can't buy from you. If you're not offering to sell to them, they can't buy from you. If you want to have a successful travel business, you have to have people buying from you. What is it that's standing between your business success and your clients? A lot of times, it might be you. I encourage you to go back through, take a look at that, and shoot me a DM. If you're feeling stuck about something, shoot me a DM on Instagram over at Art of Selling Travel. I would love to have a conversation with you. As always, come join us over in the Facebook group. That is a fabulous place to post your obstacles. Definitely fill out the questions as you come in. That's where we get so much of the content for the podcast, for the Facebook Lives that we do every week. But also, too, if you want to ask your question of me, send me a DM or check the show notes in this episode, because in 2024, we are launching a second show to this podcast, and you get to come on and ask your question. You get to get coached by me, and we are going to be doing anywhere from 2 to 4 advisors every single week. They're going to get their questions asked. In fact, we're doing pre-production. We're doing some of the early episodes right now so that we have them all banked up for you before we go live. And we've already started asking the questions, and we have had some phenomenal ones. I can't wait. I genuinely can't wait. This has been something I've wanted to do for forever. It's getting that momentum going. Well, we've just come off of a couple of recordings, got the first of them going, and now my momentum is just rolling, and I can't wait to get more in. I can't wait to get more advisors booked on so that they can get their questions asked. I had so much fun to see the ahas on their face when they were able to connect the dots and to be able to grow their business. Are you holding your people back from getting the ahas in their travel planning? Are you holding people back from making this process so simple that it's a no-brainer? Here's the thing. If you aren't getting back to them, you aren't moving them through the process, they start to think, oh my goodness, this is so much more complicated than I thought. Forget it. I don't even want to go. What if by you not getting your momentum going, you're keeping people from going on a vacation that they desperately need in order to prevent burnout, in order to have connection with their own family? What if? Okay, this episode's short and sweet because that's what we're doing today. And I will see you back here next week. Until then, happy selling.